Welcome to Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973. And now your host, me, Shane Lakita. Hey everybody, I'm hoping that your week has been great since the last time that we had a little podcast together. Just last week, we sat down and talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about things that dealt with health. We talked about things that dealt with journeys and focus and all those great things. And we're just going to keep on moving forward as we head through the new year here. We're in the month of February. And in this episode, we're going to sit down and talk a little bit about what you see when you're looking in the mirror and what the reality is when people look at you and what you look at for yourself. It's literally one of the hardest things that people go through in this whole entire journey is self-reflection, self-love, and the way that we look at ourselves when we're going through our journey and how critical we are of everything that we do and how easy it is to be able to change it, but although we think it's the hardest thing to do out of everything. So that's what this episode's going to be all about, but we'll get into that in just a minute. I want to cover a couple things with you guys since we haven't talked in it a little bit. So here's a couple things I wanted to go over with you. First of all, as many of you know, my New England Patriots are world champions. They just won the Super Bowl. And I know about half my listeners are anti-New England Patriots, and some of them are pro-Patriots. So depending on what you're really looking at and where you're going, I'm hoping that you're in a good mood either way, because maybe you're in a good mood because football season is over. And now we're moving into baseball, or we're moving into other things other than football. Or maybe you're just like me and you're just sitting back and enjoying and basking in the aroma of the New England Patriots and where we're at and how we just celebrated yesterday in the city of Boston and everybody was partying and having a great time. So first of all, hats off, kudos to my boys from New England and representing for the area. And I'm hoping that didn't turn you off to this whole entire podcast and now you're moving on to different things. But this podcast is going to be a little bit more than about sports, okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing I wanted to cover with you, if you have not listened, maybe in the last week or so, I was a guest on the podcast that Jay Casale runs over on his platform and his podcast. He had me on as a guest to talk a little bit about everything. We talked about my military life. We talked about how my opinions and views on freestyle and how my opinions and views on different weight loss platforms and the social media aspect of things. If you haven't had a chance, you should check out the Lighter Side podcast with Jay Casale over there on one of the other platforms that we have that's there. If you're listening to whatever platform that you're listening to this on, you can reach his on there too. Just type in Jay Casale, Jay Casale, and I'll actually put a link in the post here as we're throwing this up for you guys and we're doing this podcast here for you. It was really exciting to go in there and talk to somebody else and have an interview process, because 9 times out of 10, I'm just talking to you guys. And you guys are listening to my voice into this microphone. And here we are just chatting about life. And here I was there talking to somebody else, sharing the mic with somebody, and just really enjoying every moment of it. So if you haven't had a chance to check out his podcast, I will tell you, if you aren't into a little bit of foul language and some of the other swear words and cuss words that go out there, even I dropped a couple little bombs on the podcast because he made me feel so comfortable. If you're on there and you don't want to listen to that stuff, then don't listen to it. But other than that, he has a lot of really great stories that he interviews people that have been through a lot, been through the journey, been through trials and tribulations, through things like addictions and ups and downs and everything. And he has a really good rapport and he does a great job with interviewing. So Jay, thanks so much for being so hospitable to me on your podcast over there as I hopped over with you. And I look forward to doing something with you in the future. Who knows what roads can lead to down the road. So, all right, so that's a couple things that have been going on in my life of where we're at with everything. And I'll tell you, we recorded this last week. As many of you know, me and Jonathan Giordano, who is also known as the Mud Hustler, on Instagram, on Facebook, on all the different social media platforms where he makes these creations of things that have saved people's lives in this weight loss community and journey, with things like bird balls and big ass waffles and one Smart Point donuts. He's done a lot of really great things, built great relationships with companies like Devotion Nutrition and Light and Fit and all kinds of great things. And he's done so many good things for us. And I'm honored to be able to sit down side by side with him, to be able to do 2 kitchen tables and a microphone. Now, if you don't know what that is, that's a video channel that we started on YouTube where we sit in front of a camera We try to do it every week. Sometimes we have to skip a week because, work calls and we have to do other things. But we try to get in front of the camera to be able to talk about whatever's going on in our journeys. And so this last week, we sat down and we talked. And if you haven't seen episode 14, please pop over, subscribe, take a look at it, all those great things. Now, here's the dilemma that I had. Here's where I was stuck in the road when I'm reflecting on where we were at for that episode. So we sat down. He came up to Scarborough, actually, up here to Maine. We sat down and we recorded a podcast or a video cast downstairs. And we were talking about everything. We were talking about our journey so far. We were talking about how after the New Year's, we really started to hunker down. We started tracking our foods. We started really being vigilant about everything that we're trying to do and really focusing and moving forward and being proud of where we're at, back to basics, doing the things that work, getting the steps in, going to the gym, all the things that we know works for us. We both feel like we're in a really good spot right now. And so since the new year, he's down over 7 pounds and I'm down over 10 pounds. And so we're thinking to ourselves, we're feeling really good about it. I'm feeling good about the content. We close out the YouTube. I go up to edit it and he takes off to go back down to Mass, and I'm putting in some different things in the subtitles and all over the video, and I'm editing things out and I'm doing all kinds of great things. And then I look at myself in the video as we are sitting down next to each other. Now, the camera angle was a little bit weird. So as you know, camera angles do matter sometimes when you're on television or you're getting your photo taken or whatever. And the camera was sitting a little bit lower than what we normally sit, and we didn't have a table sitting in front of us. And so I'm looking at my reflection, or not I guess it wouldn't be a reflection. I guess that would be more of my photo on this video cast. And I was ashamed. And I'm sitting there looking at myself going, man, I really let myself go from when I was at my lowest points, when I was losing the most weight. I've really let myself go. When in all actuality, it's only been, I'm still down 70 pounds from what I once was, but it's still that extra 30, 35 pounds that I've gained that I look at in that reflection or in that little video of when I was looking at myself. And so as I'm sitting there looking at myself, I'm saying to myself, okay, all right, I got to do something about this. But then I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to put this on YouTube. And we have 1,060 followers plus on our YouTube channel. They're going to see my fat self on that screen talking about being successful and being able to move forward. And so a couple things ran through my mind. And I'm trying to paint this picture so you can see what my thought process was, okay? I'm sitting there looking at myself and I say to myself, okay, first of all, you're nothing but a fraud. You're sitting there telling people on how successful you're being and how the mindset matters and the things that we're doing in this journey and how we're working towards certain things. And here you are gaining some weight, and here you are being this false person up there talking about how to be successful in this weight loss, health, professional, whatever journey that you're talking about. And you're such a fraud as you stand up there and you're on that video screen. So that's the first thought that was going through my mind. Pretty sad, isn't it? Second thought that went through my mind is, man, I just cannot believe what I look like on screen. I cannot believe what I look like in that photo, where I'm not too proud to be able to put this message out there. And I know it's important to share regular people's perspective on this journey and where we're at with everything and what we're doing. So I started beating myself up. I put all the video edits together. I captured it all in this one little box. I put it off to the side and I saved it, and I loaded it up to YouTube and I put it on private mode. I did not hit public yet. So I'm sitting there in the private mode and I'm looking at it, and I reach out to John, who's my co-host in the show. And I said to him, hey, I want you to take a look at this video first, because normally I just post it and we go from there, and then we'll just go and we'll promote it or we'll talk about it or those kind of things. And I said, I want you to look at it first. And the first words out of his mouth was, what, do I look really huge in this video? Is that why you're asking me to look at it first? And I said, oh, wow, no, that's not why. I want you to look at it probably more so because of me, because I don't feel very good about myself in this video. I don't feel very good about how I represented myself. I feel like I'm a fraud when I'm sitting there talking to you about the successes that I'm having or the things that I'm doing or the mentality that I'm trying to be able to push forward with. And here I am looking at myself going, you're gross, right? So John, of course, like a good accountability buddy, and if you don't know what an accountability buddy is, you need to watch the video, because then you'll see us reference what an accountability buddy is. But as a good accountability buddy, he basically kicked my ass and said, hey, what are you doing? Like, seriously, are you okay? I mean, seriously, You're ashamed of what you look like on there, but instead you're making impacts on people's lives. You're changing people's lives. You're impacting people in a positive fashion. You're doing so many great things. You're still down 70 pounds from your heaviest. You're still, and it's not always just about the number. There's all kinds of other things that you're doing right now that you're successful with. Your job, your profession, your health, all those little vitals that you found out from your last doctor's visit, all those things that are happening, you're just going to check them out the door because of one little shot of what you're looking at on a YouTube video? And he's absolutely right. I'm saying to myself, man, you're so right. What am I doing? Why am I beating myself up over a video that's on there and how my own internal view of myself is right now? And it's something that I talk about on podcasts many, many times before. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, what are we really seeing? Should we be seeing that? Is it necessary for us to beat ourselves up as bad as we do? Because human nature kicks in and that's what happens? No, we shouldn't be doing that. But we do. And I do. And I'm flawed. And I'm not perfect. But I'm not a fraud. I'm not somebody that sits up here and preaches to the choir about all the things that I'm doing right and all the things that are successful for me, because I may talk about those sometimes, but I also talk a whole lot about me sitting back and not being able to be successful in certain things, or the struggles that I go through, or the journey that I'm having to go through, or the navigation of the pitfalls of life, or the things slapping me in the face. So on top of all that, I finally posted the video. I got it out there, felt good about it, talked to John, thanked him so much and said, thanks for keep me straight and keep me on the narrow here. And I go the next day, I'm in the store and I'm walking through the store and I see this little kid. He's got this little suit on. I guess he's getting dressed up for something or going to go to a wedding or whatever it is. And he's got his little sister next to him and they're looking in the mirror and whatever else. And the little girl, she looks at herself, and this girl must have been no more than 7, 8 years old. And they're looking in the mirror, and this little girl basically said something to the effect of, "I'm fat and ugly," in the mirror at 7 years old. Now, I said to myself, okay, I just said the basic same thing. I was appalled by this whole thing. I'm saying this 7-year-old girl who's this little cute patootie, she's just up there trying to be able to, try on some outfits and do some different things. Mother stepped in, did a great job of being able to just encourage her and say, "You're not fat. What are you talking about?" All this stuff. It was just a really good moment for the mom to do that for the child. But internally, I'm thinking to myself, how was I appalled for a 7-year-old to say it when I just said the same thing to myself yesterday? I just said, I'm fat and I'm gross. I'm the one that's sitting up here on the camera. I'm not going to release this video because I don't feel good about myself, or I don't feel great, or I'm looking at myself going, "You're gross, man." Why do we talk to ourselves that way? What's the reason? I mean, I talk about it on so many podcasts in the past, and it's just so difficult when I'm sitting back looking at myself in the mirror, or we look at ourselves in the mirror. And how hard is it for you to be able to just say something positive? How hard is it for you to be able to say, you know when you're feeling good, right? Let's say, for instance, you're going out for dinner, or you're going out with the girls, or you're going out with the dudes, and you guys are all heading out. And you're having one of those days where you're feeling right. You're feeling good. The makeup's on point. The outfit's on right. You're about to go out. You're about to hit the town. You're about to do whatever. Those kind of things. You feel great. You look in the mirror. You're like, bam, I got to get a picture of this because I feel like I'm $1 million right now. And I feel like I can just conquer the world. All those things. And you know that feeling when you're there. But that comes so rare. It comes so rare in our journeys because more often than not, we are doing nothing but beating ourselves up, dragging ourselves through the mud, calling ourselves names, doing all kinds of stuff that we should not be doing to ourselves. So one of the things that I made sure that I did after I got done with my own situation, and then coming home after seeing the situation with the young kids and the daughter that had made the comments, I got home and I took my own advice. In one of my previous podcasts, I had shared with you guys that I think it would be best if I was able to write down the things that I'm most proud of about myself. And so I did that. I said, let me put myself precursor. Before I recorded that video, what am I most proud of? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, here's all the things I'm proud of. And I went through the list. I went through everything from brought my blood pressure down through to got my thyroid under control, to a healthier dad, a better husband, a good father, a successful employee, a focused and motivated person, all these different things that I was going through. I'm positive. I'm doing the podcast to help other people. I'm doing all these things to be able to better my life and better the journey of others around me. I'm volunteering. I'm doing I wrote down all these things. And then I wrote down the things I wasn't that proud of. And all I could write down is that I've gained weight and I'm not feeling that great about myself in general because of that weight that I've gained. Think about that. Why couldn't I have parked in the space of the 1,000 things that I could list, even though it was hard for me to do in the moment? It was so difficult for me to think of those things in the moment because my head overcame everything that was going on with everything else. And so I was sitting there going, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, and doggone it, people don't like me. Little Stuart Smalley action there. So here I am, looking at myself in a negative light or a negative space, and I didn't have the things written down that I knew that I was doing really, really well, and I didn't reframe my thought process into thinking to myself, who cares what I might look like in that little video or that little picture? Who cares? There's so many things that I'm doing in my life that is so much better. So many good things that I'm doing for other people and myself in general. And those are the kind of things that I feel like are the things that we have to work on in our journeys to make sure that our mind is right. There's a reason that we're all broken. Every one of us are broken in one form or fashion. It doesn't matter how strong you are. It doesn't matter what kind of tough skin you got on the outside. It doesn't matter how built you are, how many muscles you have. It doesn't matter how good you look. It doesn't matter how photogenic you are or whatever. Everybody's got flaws and we're all broken in one form or fashion. Every one of us. We're human. Nobody's perfect. And so the thing about it is if we can get in front of the reasons why we're broken and what led to the reasons for us being broken, that's the brain work that we've got to start to work on. And 9 out of 10 of us that look into a mirror or look into a video screen or look into whatever will look back at ourselves and say, man, I'm flawed. I mean, I saw a picture of a girl on Instagram the other day and she was talking about how she felt like she just wasn't where she needs to be. And she looked dynamic. She looked outstanding in anybody's eyes where she's like a fitness instructor and she's whatever. But think about it. Her lens is broken. Her lens is, I can see all of my flaws. Her lens is, what else can I pick apart from my own journey here to be able to say, I'm not good enough and my life sucks and all those things. Because we all do it. Every one of us. So we got to work on the positivity. We got to work on ourselves. We have to work on what our reflection is looking back at us. I mean, honestly, I know you guys have all seen the little GIFs and the images and all the posts of people looking in the mirror. It's a little kitten looking in the mirror and there's a lion looking back, right? We want that to be the case, but I know that that's not the case. I know it isn't, but we need to try to start to get that to be the case. How about just getting to a place where you're seeing the true you in the mirror? You're seeing what other people see you in the mirror. Okay? If you look at yourself in the mirror and you can list all these faults down there and you can list out these faults and then you go back to somebody that loves you or cares about you or looks up to you or admires you or any of those things and you ask them, do you see the same thing? You know what your answer is going to be? No, I don't see that. I see a person that is, and they'll go through the laundry list of all the positive things that you do. And all of the great things that you do. And if you surround yourself with people that won't do that for you, you got to get rid of them. They got to go. See you later. Don't need them in my life. Because if you're going to park in the negative space and then I'm already in the negative space, that's nothing but a negative. And you know what that is? That's a double negative. And when a double negative starts to happen in my life starts to go way downhill. So I need to be able to balance that out with some positivity and positive people around me. So the whole focus of this whole entire podcast here is around when you look at yourself in the mirror, when you look at yourself on video. I hear people say all the time, I don't like being in pictures. Even if you're feeling good about yourself, sometimes you still don't want to be in pictures. Who cares? Seriously, go take those pictures. Do what you have to do to be able to live in the moment, be in the moment. And then if you have some things you want to work on, great. Put those lists down of the things you want to work on. But don't forget about all the positive things that you bring to the table. The amazing things that people look to you or look up to you for. Think about those things before you start to dive right into how crappy of a person I am or what kind of life that I live that I've gained 30 pounds, or who am I as a person if I can't even resist an Oreo cookie? You're no less of a person than somebody that can eat perfectly healthy vegetables and do whatever they're doing. You're just in that mode of you use that as a crutch or a medium for you to feel better about yourself, right? I mean, it kind of is what it is. So we're going to park there, and this podcast is going to be all about just that fact. We need to look at ourselves in a more positive light. See what your reflection looks like in the mirror and live in the moment of knowing that you need to be a positive influence on you, yourself, and everybody around you. Because if you can get to that place and you can bring yourself around to being a positive person and being in a place where you feel better about yourself, your journey is only going to be more positive moving forward, because you're then going to change the direction of the path that human nature wants you to go. You're then changing the direction. Instead of just being this negative Nancy all the time, you're now going down the road of being a positive influence on yourself and those that are all around you. Okay? I hope that this helps you. It helped me because it was reflecting me, a reflection point that I went through 2 different situations this week that I wanted to share with you, because I feel like many of us park in that space. And if you could start to write down, all you got to do is take out a piece of paper and just write down some of those positive things that you do in your journey and who you are as a person and the things that you do. Just jot them down. It's important. You're worth it. You're worth all of that work that you put in for you to be successful moving forward. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Keep on sharing the word about Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973, along with 2 kitchen tables and a microphone, along with No Finish Line Nation and all the different social media platforms that I'm playing in right now. I love you guys, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening to Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973 podcast. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and other social media platforms at Liquidshano 1973. And if you could do us a favor, pop on over to iTunes and show us some love and leave some feedback there for us. Talk later.